Hey guys, good evening. Lieutenant Colonel Mitch Taco Bell. I'm your host for Tall Tales with Taco. And I tell you what, tonight is going to be a great night. Of course, a huge history fanatic. I love World War II history in particular. And being a Marine, we have some of the most classic battles and things that we cover throughout our history. But it's always great to meet other Marines who are just as enamored with World War II as I am. And tonight, boy, you guys, it's a great one. Andy Biggio is a police officer and Marine sergeant up in Boston. And he's on with us tonight to talk about his mission in life in saving the history of these World War II vets and collecting stories that will just blow your mind. So tonight, without further ado, I'm going to bring Andy on. Andy, how you doing, brother? I'm glad we could finally get you on.
I'm glad to be on, especially with another Marine.
Hey, last time we had him set up, unfortunately, the Kung flu, went through his
Oh yeah.
family, and Andy was down for the count. So I would not put him in that situation where he had to dive off the show here and all of a sudden grab the trash can to vomit. So we're not going to do that to the folks. Although, you know, Bull Meacham would run down there with a spoon and say, "Shout out on me, hogs." Now, hey, listen, I talk about history a lot on my program, and the different guys and people that I've interviewed um, have so much history about them. Go back for you, for the viewers, in 2006, you got out of high school and you joined the Marines. Was there a particular person that you met back in your childhood that got you interested in the Marine Corps, first of all, and history?
Believe it or not, I can't say there was a particular person. It just hit me as a young kid for the duty to want to serve, and I grew up knowing both of my grandfathers had lost a brother in World War II. Both of my grandfathers had a brother killed in World War II. I grew up knowing that. Whether I knew the understanding of sacrifice entirely, no, but I knew both my grandfathers had a brother. They were both Gold Star brothers. They
Right.
had a brother that died in World War II, and to me, it became more clear that I should join the Marines. I think kind of after 9/11, and it was mostly just they were just sexier, appealing to selling their goods to a young kid who didn't know anything. So
Right. God, I tell you what, every so many people end up having somebody that they just look up to. You know, as a kid growing up, I had this mean. He looked like a bulldog. I mean, just kind of fire hydrant type guy, and would yell at us at church when we were running down the hallways. You know, and then when I got commissioned, he shows up at my house, and it's his name's James A. Missioner, and he goes, Mitch, my son's dead. My daughter doesn't want this stuff. I want to go from one Marine to another. And, here you go. And he gives me this big box and has Mameluke sword, his uniform from Iwo Jima, his 45, all this stuff, and
mm,
all these letters back and forth between him and his buddies who ended up going on to become commandants of the Marine Corps,
yeah.
years later. So the history is out there. Now, how did you went off to Iraq and Afghanistan, and when you got back, talk about the rifle and the mission that you've picked up here so far.
Yeah, I came home and I survived and I lived, and that was great. And I didn't have survivor's guilt where it was the point where someone in my platoon was killed or someone died in my arms. I didn't have that kind of an experience, thankfully. But coming home and in the town of Winthrop, Massachusetts, like I was talking about, one of my grandfather's brothers was killed. His name was Andrew Biggio. That's who I was named. It's my namesake.
Oh, wow.
I was carrying his name the whole time, and I would drive past his street sign coming home in my town after completing my military service, and I would always have to stare at Andrew Biggio Square at that intersection.
Oh, wow.
Going to the bar, coming from the bar, going to grocery shopping, back and from college. This Andrew Biggio Square, and it came down to the point where I was saying, "What happened to that poor kid that didn't happen to me?
Yeah.
Why am I alive and he's dead? naturally we served in entirely two different wars. But this kid didn't even get to start his life. He was 19.
Yeah.
The real Andrew Biggio is what I call him. And, I remember my grandmother telling me she kept letters that he wrote home before he was killed under her bed in a shoebox. So I run home to her house. I grab the shoebox. I open it up. And the first letter I pull out that this kid wrote home was how much he enjoyed the M1 Garand, how much he loved shooting it, how much he loved holding it. Dear Mom, today we fired the M1 Garand. His mom was his best friend in these letters he's writing home.
Right. And how old was he at the time? 17, 18?
18?
What
18,
year was
definitely.
this?
1944.
Wow.
And we always think about like guys being rough and tough and their dad's their best friends. But no, this kid, all the letters were addressed to Mom. And, I said, I need to go out and buy an M1 Garand. I want to hold what he held. I want to feel what he felt. And I did. And I went out and purchased an M1.
Right.
Brought it home. And I said, I'm going to go show my family this. This is what Uncle Andy had when he was killed. And I showed the whole family. We sat down, we had dinner, and I'm showing everyone. And they just viewed it as a gun. Yeah, it's a gun, And I just said, it's more than that. This is what this young kid had. This is what he died defending the country with. So I went home that night, and I was just like unsatisfied with the answers I was getting. And I remembered that a friend of mine, just like your buddy, I'm like, oh shit, Joe Drago was in the Battle of Okinawa. He was with the 6th Marine Division. I'm going to go take this to him.
Uh-huh.
And I put it in his hands. Well, first I knocked on his door, and I remember him just telling me to come in because he couldn't really walk anymore. He was really just bound to his recliner. His legs were just like this thin. They had just atrophied to nothing because he was getting older. And he was only like 92. And I remember putting that rifle in his hands, and boy, he had no problem throwing it right in his shoulder. He aimed in. He's waving it around, almost takes my face off. And we talk about the Battle of Okinawa for probably 3 or 4 hours. I mean, it was to the point where he couldn't even lift his head up. He was so exhausted from telling me the story. And he tells me, I want to give you something. These are yours now. He has me go into a sock drawer to get a Crown Royal bag. And it's a velvet Crown Royal bag. And he's like, these are yours now. And I open it up and I look in, and it was nothing I've ever seen close up, but it was Japanese gold teeth. And he says, these are yours now. I want you to have them. And I said, in return, will you sign my rifle? I always want to remember this moment. Sign my rifle. And now he signed my rifle. Okay. Joe Drago.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I left his house and I said, I got to get as many signatures as possible. I want to hear all these guys' stories.
Do you put shellac on top of that after they sign it so it doesn't?
It's actually polyurethane.
Okay.
But yeah, shellac, whatever.
Polyurethane. All right. Great
and
idea.
I'm at 300 names and stories now. And I must have been about 20 names in. And I said, I gotta start putting pen to paper on these guys because some of these stories have never been heard of before.
Right. So how long did it take for you to start doing interviews?
I want to say I was about 10 or 20 names in. And I remember I was listening to Clarence Cormier. I sent you his photo. He's got like he's a more heavy set of guy, not the one that was standing that I sent you. And I said he was going into the Battle of the Bulge, and he gets captured and he gets put into boxcars. That's actually Joe DeChico, the one you're looking at. His story is magnificent too. But on Clarence, I remember he was stuffed into train cars during the Battle of the Bulge, and these friendly P-47 start seeing a German train, and they start strafing it.
Right.
And they're strafing this poor guy. They're killing American prisoners of war. And Clarence is telling me the story, and he's crying his eyes out, and they break out of these boxcars, and then they form the words POW. with their human bodies. And so
Oh,
the
wow.
planes would stop strafing them. And he cried telling this whole story. And I remember his daughter saying, "Wow, I've never heard Dad say this before." And I said, "Wow, if you've never heard your father say this, there he is. There's Clarence,
Yeah.
106th Infantry Division. Man, I miss him."
Wow.
And I know, I remember I said, "If you don't know this, then so many people in this country don't know this. I need to write this guy's story, the story of survival." And it's not a slight on his daughter for not knowing it, but these guys didn't talk about it. He didn't talk
Yeah, sure.
about it.
Well, do you think that the rifle opens it up for him?
I think the rifle opens it up. I think me being a veteran communicating, and I think they know now they're in the last stages of their life. They don't want to die with any secrets. They're going to talk about it. That's what I've noticed
Yeah.
now. Most guys, when they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they don't want to talk about it. They're still very focused on raising a family, having a career, and avoiding the bad stuff. But now all they have is time. Maybe
Yeah.
it's time to talk about it now, I think.
God, that is amazing stuff. Now talk about this guy.
Carl DeChico.
What's his story?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the photo because I've just never seen it this big, and I realized how far I've come. That photo is probably 2016 or 17,
Right.
and Carl wanted nothing to do with me at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he hung the phone up in my face. He fought in Italy, and he
Uh-huh.
earned the Silver Star the same day my uncle was killed. And I found his name in after action reports for receiving the Silver Star.
Mhm.
And I wrote to him, and I called him, and he thought I was a scam. He thought I was a complete scam. And I said, "I'm not a scam, sir. I just really want you to sign my rifle," and whatever. He hung up on me. So I said, "This son of a bitch, I need to get this guy. He's in the same division as my uncle. He was a different company, but he earned the Silver Star September 17th, 1944, the same day my uncle was killed." So I did was I took off the upper receiver of the I took off the handguard to the M1. I say, "I may never see this piece of the rifle again, but I'm gonna damn sure try." I printed out photos of other veterans signing the rifle. I printed photos of my Uncle Andy, and I said, "Sir, I am not a scam. Could you please add your name to this piece and mail it back to me? I won't bother you again." I shipped it off to Pennsylvania. And
Mhm.
I said, "I may never see that piece again, but at least it might be replaceable, whatever." So 2 weeks later, it comes by. I get a box on my front porch, and it's from Carl, and it says, "I'm sorry I thought you were a scam. Today I turned 94."
Wow.
Today I turned 94, and he signed it. Man, it's been a while. You might not be able to see it, but so you see DeChico where my finger is.
Yeah, the internet's a little pixelated. Your voice is
Uh,
coming through okay, but the picture's a little pixelated, but, damn, that's awesome.
yeah, Carl DeChico. Um, that was a great story by him, and he was an animal. I mean, he took out a German pillbox on a hill, and he
Right.
crawled under barbed wire during mortar fire, was wounded, used several rifle grenades to take out killed a couple of Germans, and got about 5 of them to surrender in a cone shaped pillbox. Took off the German that was shooting flares. He took off his head with a rifle grenade.
Yeah. Jeez. And so did he happen to know your uncle, or does he remember at all?
No, he
Probably
was
not.
in G company. He was in G company. My uncle was in B company. So
Boy, that's tough. And so here's your book. If everybody is interested in buying this, it's on Amazon, I believe.
yep.
And combat stories from America's last World War II veterans told through the M-1 Garand. That What a great concept and great idea. It's funny you talked. We were talking earlier. So when Band of Brothers came out in 2001, I got tired of watching. Marine buddy of mine was the co-pilot on 175, Mike Horrocks. So I really
Hmm.
got tired of watching his airplane hit the South Tower. And so watching Band of Brothers, I went to the gun show, and this thing was for sale. Ended up buying this for $500, and then
Wow.
I have I showed you that is Lieutenant General Carey's part of our Marine group, and RV Bergen signed the other one, and RV of course was the Pacific. So I got those two signatures, but when I heard of your story, someone told me about your story, and I'm like, man, what a great idea! I wish I had done that and taken that rifle in and had more guys sign it just to capture the memories. I
Yeah.
really wish I had done that. You hats off to you for that.
Thank you. I mean, it became an obsession. I mean, I'm almost at 300 names. Um, and these guys they became my friends, and they taught me so much. I wanted to meet them ever since I was a little kid.
And what is the farthest that you've gone to meet up with somebody?
Oregon, in Boston. I mean, that might not be far for some people, but Boston to Oregon that's directly
Yeah,
across
that's
the
a
country.
haul.
So, yeah, I've
Yeah.
been to every corner of the country for signatures.
Really?
But yeah, I think it was Medal of Honor recipient Bob Maxwell called me on my phone and said, "Andrew, I got a letter here from you. The letter might be a year old. I've been sick in the hospital, and I'd love to sign your M1." I looked on Expedia that night. In Boston to Portland, Oregon was $130. I said, "I'm
Wow.
doing it. I'm going." I
Yeah.
flew out to Bend, Oregon, and I met Bob Maxwell from the 3rd Infantry Division, who jumped.
Oh man,
Dead.
please, Andy, if you can hear me, we lost your audio.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, we lost
Uh,
your audio. So you met Bob Maxwell pickup in Oregon, and we lost you from
yeah,
there.
I
Keep
flew directly to Bend, Oregon. Yeah, I flew to Bend, Oregon. I meet Bob Maxwell. He jumped on a grenade in France, 1944. Lived shrapnel all throughout his body. He was a signalman, not a signalman. That would have been Navy. He was in the Signal Corps
Mhm.
as a radio operator of the 3rd Infantry Division, and he jumped on a grenade in France. Lived, got shrapnel all over his body, and here I am in Bend, Oregon, and he's taking me to lunch. After signing my rifle. I wish I could reverse back to that damn day, honestly. But it was just remarkable.
Yeah, and what did he tell you? What was his story? I mean,
Yeah, if I
what was
remember
his
correctly,
favorite
they
story that he would tell?
they were they were being overrun at a location in southern France. I
Mhm.
think November of 44 was before the Battle of the Bulge. 3rd Infantry Division wasn't involved in the Battle of the Bulge, but it was just before that time frame. They were getting overrun, and basically he was one of the last guys out of the CP, and a grenade landed right by his feet. And I remember he told me he tried kicking it and then realized he wasn't going to be, it just pinned it between him and the wall, and he just he fell on it. And his body and the wall blocked the explosion from killing a couple other guys in the command post. And
Gee.
yeah, he came home, and if I remember correctly, he became an auto mechanic and just worked with his injuries like that. And
And he got the Medal of Honor?
oh yeah, hmm
Wow. Boy, I haven't
yeah.
met him. When did he pass?
I think he passed in 2018 or 17.
Boy, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what are some of the other vignettes that stick out in your mind? Stories guys told as they were holding the rifle?
I'll go with my most recent one. I went back to Oregon, Eugene, Oregon this time, just about a week ago.
Uh-huh.
And I did it because I had a guy on Instagram reach out to me. He said, "You got to come meet my grandfather. He jumped into Normandy with the 82nd Airborne. He was in the Battle of, Market Garden, and he was in the Battle of the Bulge." And I'm just kind of like, so many people tell me that, and the guy ends up being a cook on a ship somewhere. Not that there's anything wrong with being a cook on a ship, but I've been lied to a lot,
Mhm.
and it's cost me money. And cost me my validity as in trying to be an honest author. He's like, but don't call him. Write him a letter. He can't hear a thing. So I said, okay. So I write
Mm.
this guy a letter, and I live in Winthrop, Massachusetts now. He writes me back and goes, Andy, I nearly jumped out of my seat when I seen the return address. I grew up in Winthrop, Massachusetts. This guy's all the way in Eugene, Oregon. I have to go all the way to Eugene, Oregon to meet this guy. And he was from Winthrop, where I
Oh my
live.
god, small world, yeah.
Ugh. But then he said something else where I said, I definitely got to go meet him. He goes, jumping into Normandy wasn't just special because I was with the 82nd Airborne. It was my return to France because I fled France with my family in 1939 when I came to Winthrop. So, yeah, so he flees
Whoa.
France, comes to America, gets drafted, and returns to France by parachute. So that was
Jeez.
unbelievable. I went out. He was a demolitionist with the 82nd Airborne headquarters. I went out there to meet him, and just talking about how when he got a few days liberty to go to Paris,
Mhm.
ringing his mother's doorbell again, and seeing her come to the door after 4 years of not seeing each other and all the combat he went through.
Wait a
You
minute, so
know,
the family didn't flee to America as well? He
him
went
and
on his
just him
own?
and the sister, just him and the sister. The
Jeez,
the,
how
the
how did
father
they
and the
win
mother
that?
stayed. Yep, father and mother stayed.
That's amazing. So, the reunion with his mom, and he must have been, the his squad's favorite guy because he could be the go-between, talk to all the girls and
That's why he was in division headquarters platoon. Yep.
Oh my god. So that guy jumped in and, turned out to be the real deal. Um, how many 501st guys do you think you have on your rifle? Do you have any Easy Company guys? Were you able to meet some
Yeah,
of them?
I got Easy Company 506 guys. You
Oh,
talking about 501 or
506.
506?
506, yeah.
Uh, I have ba, 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 ba. We got Pee Wee Martin, which I think was G Company 506.
Uh-huh.
We got Frank Maniscalco D Company 506. We have Rod Stroll Easy Company 506.
Wow.
Yeah, we got
You weren't able to meet Dick Winters?
no,
Did he pass?
died when I was in Afghanistan. Actually, he died in 2011.
Mm,
He was born. He was old. He was born 1918, I think.
mhm.
So a lot of the guys I had on my rifle were born 1925, 1924, 1923.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died when I was in 2011. I was in Afghanistan because I remember seeing it on like the Stars and Stripes. 506. Yeah, I think that's all I got for 506. I got a few 501 guys, and then I got one 504, then I got 505, and then 508 as well. So
We do have a guy down here who was part of the parachute or not parachute, glider company. He was a glider guy that went in
yeah, I got a
on
bunch of
D-Day.
glider guys too. Yep.
Yeah. So we still have him down here. We have a thing called roll call on one Friday, the last Friday of every month, and all these World War II survivor
I've been
vets
invited.
come be
Yeah,
there.
I've been invited. Yeah.
Oh man, you need to
Oh,
come
you're
down.
talking about Carmen Giese. Yeah, I got him on the
Yeah,
rifle
Carmen.
too.
You got Carmen on there? Oh,
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah. Tell him I
Yeah,
said hello, please.
I yeah, I sure will. And all the way from Australia, David was telling me, Holland, hey, ask him if he's met that guy down in Florida. I sent you his name. We'll get his information and get you hooked up with him.
I'd love
Glenn
to meet
Williams.
that guy.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on a plane down there. Glenn Williams used to work up in Boston at the airport. He's an American Airlines um, employee with me. And I met Joe Drogo when he did his honor flight. And he also, Andy, were you part of the group that took the World War II guys back to Normandy a few years ago? I seem to remember seeing them off a plane at Logan. Yep.
Yep. Yeah,
That was the one
I've been the
where your
only guy
guy
in Boston since 2018 bringing guys back in Boston. So
Yeah.
that's me for sure.
How do you raise money for that? What do you do?
I do mostly GoFundMe's, honestly, but we're getting to the end here. I'm doing my last trip this June to Normandy. I think it's my last one with World War II vets. I've been so damn blessed and so lucky. I've been bringing guys over that are 100 years old, 99,
Right.
98, no medical issues. I've been putting guys in World War II aircrafts again. I've been putting up monuments over there. I want to stop while I'm ahead. And this May, Memorial Day to June 6th, D-Day, I'll be taking my last 4 veterans out of Boston again.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, I tell you what, anybody that's American that's listening to this, Glenn, tell your folks up there to go upstairs and shake hands and get some photos with all these guys. Glenn's listening to the program. He's down here at DFW with me now, but big patriot. And Dave was talking about the rifle connection with the M1 CMP match. Yeah, it's funny. CMP, when I was in flight school, they had a deal where you could go to the range if you had to do like 3 consecutive shoots in a row, and then you could buy an M1 for $200. And I could never get the 3 shoots in a row, 3 weekends in a row, because I got stuck with duty or whatever. But that's one of my biggest regrets, not being able to jump in there and grab more M1s, throw them in the closet, not knowing how much they'd be worth now.
I know, $3,000 a piece.
That's incredible, especially the history with yours. What do you plan on doing with that one day? Go to a museum? What do you
That's
want to
none of
do?
your damn business, Taco. All right? No. I would love for it to be on display at a museum with clips of all the different interviews I've done of the men who've signed it all around it, like, in a TVs. And
Do you have all the interviews on YouTube that we could go watch?
not on YouTube. I have them on a hard drive. Yeah, that's about it. I'm not a good interviewer, like with camera and lighting and in audio. I only interview them so I can re-listen to their story and then write it.
Right.
So I'm not one of these guys that are wicked good at interviewing where, I've brought in other people to meet the veterans that I've found, and they go as far as turning the refrigerator off so there's no humming in the background.
Yeah.
That's just not me. I don't go to people's houses and say, "Oh, take the batteries out of your clock, turn your refrigerator off, put a giant bright light in their face." I just want to sit and chill with the veteran and relate with them. And if that means I only get a shitty iPhone video out of it, then fine. I just want to write their story and put it on paper and sell hopefully 30,000 books, which
Well,
I
I
did.
tell you what, maybe you ought to think about going back and finding some of the best interviews and throwing those on. And even if they're not Joe Rogan interviews, light and quality and all that stuff, it's still going to be an incredible. For me, I would love to sit and listen to the stuff because
Mm,
I'm sure that guy is going to tell you some stories and he opens up. It would just be neat hearing it firsthand. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dave was saying that they're all going to be in Olstein, Florida on May 12th to the 15th at a World War II thing Brian Domovich has set up for him. And that's for the George Mason, the Guadalcanal vet that Dave was talking about. Yeah, it's a World War II function if you're able to make it down. Did I lose you? Andy, can you hear me? There you go. You doing?
Yeah.
Are you doing anything in May on the 12th to the
May
15th?
12th.
We'll have to
I'll have
work
to
on
get that
getting you
into,
down
I'll have
there
to
for
get,
that.
yeah, yeah, I'm down. I'm interested.
Another great story. He's got some stuff that showed pictures of the Battle of Guadalcanal and where this guy was. So it would be really interesting interview, I believe. And you're covering all services too. You're covering Navy,
Every
Marines,
branch.
everybody, right?
Yeah. The easiest guys you're finding now are like the replacements for Army guys who are after the Battle of the Bulge.
Mhm,
Just because their age. Marines are difficult to find, man. Marine infantry are hard to find in the year 2022 that are still alive.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah, we lost so many.
and they were a smaller branch. Yeah, yeah, of course. And the main reason is because we lose 1,000 vets a day, pretty much.
Yeah, it's getting up there. Yeah, I'm sure you are well known up there in the Northeast, and you cover all that area. Somebody call you up and go, "Hey, you got to go talk to this guy Andy." And do you get cold calls or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Um, I get cold calls. I get referrals now on Facebook. I used to just scan the obituaries, scan the white pages, scan the after action reports, the morning reports to pull names and see if guys are still alive. I used to do it the hard way.
Mhm.
I would drive thousands of miles, fly thousands of miles, pay for hotel rooms and rent a cars, and I worked my ass off. And that's why I can't stand sometimes secretly when people are like, hey, can I have that veteran's contact info? And I'm like, do you have any idea what it took me to get me that guy in that guy's house from the side of my rifle? You want me to just hand his phone number off to you? And not to mention, he trusts me to be in his home and he doesn't trust me to give out his contact information with 7,000 people.
Right. It is funny. Somebody mentioned to me Dean Caswell, and he's the last fighter ace from World War II, Marine Corps fighter ace F4U.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I got to talk to the guy. And he's in Texas. He's in
Yeah.
Austin, right? 3 hours south of me. And I'm begging this guy, you got to get me hooked up with him. He goes, all right, I'm going to get you hooked up with a Marine down in Austin that's an artist who is painting his portrait, and he knows him. I said, okay, great. So then I get with him, and he says, no, I'm not interested in doing an interview. If he wants to know about me, he can watch YouTube. There are videos out there. And I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, but that's not the same. I want to talk to you as
Yeah.
an aviator to aviator, as a Marine aviator.
Yeah.
So I did what you did. I wrote a on stationery. I wrote this letter, dear Colonel Caswell, um, as a historian, history major in, education. I love to come down and just sit down two Marines and talk, blah 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 blah. And I sent him a coin and my business card in there. And next thing I know, I get a call. Yeah, you can come down. Have you had your COVID test? Have you had COVID? My wife and I, we don't get out much because of this COVID stuff.
Right.
And I said, sir, we'll do whatever you want. And, then as it got closer, we were working on it. I said, hey, sir, is it okay if my dad comes with me? He's a Vietnam vet, Navy swift boat guy. And he says, yeah, sure, bring your dad. So
Mm.
my dad and I went down, met the Marine artist who painted them, and now that painting's in the Museum of the Pacific,
Wow.
or going to the Museum of the Pacific. And we went to
Yeah.
his house, and it was a living museum. It was incredible. His living room, I Love Me, all the airplanes, all his buddies, pictures of him and his buddies in the Pacific. That I love that stuff. I mean, what you're doing is like if I could do it full time and get paid, I would
Oh, me too.
I would travel around just to go interview folks. But God, I mean, like you said, they're dying at the cyclic rate, or they're infirm. They're not able to really sit and have a good conversation. And you
Right.
want to get so much out of them, and you can't.
Oh man, you'd love this pilot I just brought back to Belgium. He's not an ace, but I mean, he was a fighter pilot, man. He's
Yeah,
got stories, and he's in volume 2 of my next book. And I brought him back to his airfield for the first time in 76 years later, in
really.
Belgium. It was all overgrown. But then the stories come in of the attacks of the ME-109s and the getting ambushed and almost getting killed. And then we left and came home, and it was an unbelievable experience. And then I got a call from a F-16 pilot in Belgium saying that he owns a T-6 Texan. He would love to take that P-47 pilot I just brought back. I said, I don't think we're going to be back. Then I said, fuck it, we're coming back. We went back and he flew him over the Ardennes again in the T6 Texan in formation with 4 other T6s
Oh my God, that's awesome.
at 100 years old.
Wait, what was his name?
Ed Cottrell.
Ed. Did he get shot down?
Almost.
Oh, he didn't attack a train, get shot down?
He
No, I
attacked
talked.
a couple of Tiger tanks, came out of the dive, and there was a ME-109 with its cannons blinking right at him, shot him
Yeah.
up, oil, and he lugged it right back to St. Tron Airfield, and he landed, but barely.
Okay. Different guy. I was American took all these World War II vets because very few actual Pearl Harbor survivors, but they took a bunch of World War II vets over to Honolulu for the 80th.
Mhm.
And so I was at the hotel and I had my computer set up and I grabbed a couple of these guys and they'd come in and I would just start talking to them. And one was a P-47 guy. His stories were pretty entertaining. I was just like,
Yeah,
man, that would be a small world if it was the same guy.
I knew
I'd get you
nothing
hooked up with
about
this guy.
I knew nothing about airmen or cared about the Air Force at any rate, being a Marine infantryman, and I became best friends with this guy, man. You'd love this story. I mean, it was just I got 15 million views on Facebook of when I surprised him at the cemetery
Yeah.
of his roommate's grave. Okay, so
Where was that?
in Holland.
Uh-huh.
So 6 of them would share a room in a schoolhouse. 6 pilots. They would get jeeped to the airfield to do their missions.
Mhm.
By the time the Battle of Bulge was over, he had lost 2 of his roommates that were shot down and killed. And
Wow.
I had found Ted Smith's grave in Holland. I brought Ed back to Holland, was letting him look at the graves, just kind of, stumbling around, just reading different names on graves. And he stopped dead in his tracks, collapsed, and cried on the grave. And it got about 15 million views on Facebook.
Jeez. And how about taking him up in the T6? Were you able to
So
go up in the backseat of the other one?
I was not, no, but that's all right. So after we had that emotional experience, I brought him back to the airfield where he used to take off every day. I took a sledgehammer and cracked out a piece of the airfield and gave it back a piece for him. It was all overgrown, but part of it is still a civilian airport for small planes. But
Right.
his particular strip is overgrown with weeds and everything else. Like I said, Belgian F-16 pilot reached out to us, said he had a T-6 Texan stationed at that civilian airfield. Would love to take Ed up again. We go back. This is like 3 weeks ago. We go
No way.
back. Yeah. And he takes Ed up, put a GoPro on him. And I mean, it's just unbelievable watching his eyes look at the clouds again. He remembered the tree lines in the Ardennes forest, remembered he said when he flew over Bastogne and saw the downtown, the town square, it was the same exact.
Are the tigers and stuff he attacked, are they still out there, the Hulks?
Probably not. I mean, there's nowadays, if there was a down tiger or a down panzer tank, they've been moved to different memorial marker spots. So they wouldn't be exactly where he had blown them up or dropped the 500-pounder on them, but they are now, memorial sites that have been moved around. So
I bet you, I bet you $100 that airfield the guy took you to, you know how guys were. It's like, get rid of this stuff, and they just go get a bulldozer, dig a hole somewhere, pile all the engines and machine
the
guns, and
scorch marks are, so on January 1st, the Luftwaffe really did their last major offensive they wanted to hit every Allied air base in Belgium, in France.
right.
Okay. So I think 7, maybe 4 or 7 Focke-Wulf 190s attacked the airfield, and
Uh-huh.
was on he was on runway alert that day. That means you didn't go flying on a mission. You stayed at the bottom of the runway, and in case shit got heavy, then you took off to, quick reaction force to back anyone up.
Mhm.
The Focke-Wulf 190s come in out of nowhere. The anti-aircraft's going off like crazy. He jumps out of his plane because he's a sitting duck, and he rolls into a ditch. And the anti-aircraft struck a direct hit on the Focke-Wulf 190, and boom, impact right at the end of the runway. The scorch
Oh,
marks of where the Focke-Wulf 190 hit are still there.
really?
Yeah.
I bet you that airplane, hulk of that airplane or whatever's left is probably still right at the end of the, runway.
Yeah, there's tree lines everywhere. I mean, like I said, I broke off a piece of the runway for him. My buddy went back with a skill saw and or a wet saw and cut out a big chunk of it. I got it right here.
What is this? Oh, chunk of
This
the
is a
runway.
this is a piece of the runway.
Ah. They use concrete? Was it concrete?
I guess you can call it concrete,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. How long you
They
been doing
just
this now?
they just started demoing the airfield.
Right.
Imagine I got there just in time.
Jesus, Joseph. How long have you been doing this now?
Uh, I've been involved in World War II, um, serious World War II research. I mean, since 2015, but in veteran services in general, I've been doing it for 15 years, not including my own service. So when you go over there, there's still I have pieces of all sorts of P-47s that farmers find and
Yeah.
give to me, and they can't locate family members. These are all pieces of P-47s and
Wow. Yeah.
aircraft that I have, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible.
So I do have the name of this pilot. So I got to find out if there's any family members.
Um, what I need to get you hooked up with Zach Fike. He's a Army. I think he's up for lieutenant colonel, and Zach does Purple Hearts Reunited. Have you heard of that?
No.
So Purple Hearts Reunited, they find lost Purple Hearts and we return them to
Oh,
veterans,
that's
to the
cool.
families, to the
Yeah.
families. Family
Yeah.
members may not know Uncle Joe was a B-17 belly gunner that got shot down on his second mission, that type thing. But he's got a staff of researchers. He might be able to help you out and find that particular family. That would
Sure.
be interesting. That would actually be a real neat collaboration between your
Oh, I got
organization
plenty of
and
stuff.
theirs.
I got plenty. I got more than that. More than that. I got pieces of B-17s, B-24s, P-47s, canteens, packs, helmets, everything. I don't have the time.
Yeah. Well, I'll volunteer. Dude, I can fly for free. The old adage, marry me, fly for free. So I can get this stuff, jump on an airplane and go back to the family and help
Dude,
return
yeah.
it.
I gotta and shame on me, man. I got like 35,000 Instagram followers and they hit me up all the time. A lot of guys in Europe. I found this canteen cup. I found this silverware. I found this watch. And I go, yeah, let's get it. Let's find it. And then their messages get buried,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's just you doing this, right? You don't
Yeah.
have do you have you able to enlist your wife into this endeavor?
No, she's dealing with my two maniac kids, but I want her to do that. I throw money at her so she so she can just do the kid thing. No, but she'd love to help me. She's very supportive and stuff like that. But man, I'm at the age where I'm raising a family now, and
Right.
it's time to cool it. To be honest with you, it's I think there's going to be these freaks of nature and these World War II veterans who are 100, who live to be 105 and go visit Normandy at age 102 and things like that. But it won't be my bag. I'll be done with that kind of stuff. So because their health and their age is a big factor, and they would want me to be a good dad and take care of my kids and family, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm heading right now. Right after this June is, I'll release my second book, The Rifle, but doing these groundbreaking explorations with World War II veterans and their foxholes over in Belgium are over for me.
Yeah. Did you ever so it sounds like you concentrated mainly on Europe. Did you ever go and do anything in the Pacific?
You know what? Unfortunately, as a Marine, I never did, and that sucks. But that's just the World War II veterans in their 90s, and so it's so easy to go Boston to Paris 6 hours, or Boston to Rome 7 hours, or Boston
Sure.
to Amsterdam 6 hours straight, one flight direct. To start researching the Pacific guys, I'd have to go Boston to California, California,
To Guam, to
Taipei.
Okinawa.
Yeah, and that's we're talking a 24-hour travel for a guy
Sure.
in his mid 90s,
Yeah.
as opposed to a 1 6-hour flight. Boom, you wake up, you're in Paris. So yeah, it's been easier to research and easier to travel with European theater of operation veterans. But obviously, I've still interviewed heavily and wrote about many battles in the Pacific.
Right. Would you have a website that you want to promote?
The World War II Rifle.com. The World War II Rifle.com. You'll I got to upload it with some of my new,
Actually, you know what? Hold on.
adventures.
You know what? Actually, I've got right here, if you give me 2 seconds, WWII Rifle.com. Let's do this right now. And I'm going to throw that in there. And so here we go. There we go. So the WWII Rifle.com, the author. So that's going to bring your page up, and you'll be able to see Andy's information. And I mean, it's just fantastic.
Thanks,
You know,
Mitch.
yeah. I mean, God, I'm trying to remember who, because you talk to so many different guys, and I'm trying to remember who
I think you
told
said
me
Nick in the
about you.
Law. Nick in the Law, I
Yes,
think you said.
yes, I think it was. I think it was Nick that did that. Oh,
He's been busy as hell with the Ukrainian situation. There's Herschel.
I gotta show you that, man. So you and Hershey. Oh, what I'm saying, Hershey, Woody. That's a great shot right there. Where are you all?
That is my motorcycle charity ride, known as Boston's Wounded Vet Run, which we didn't even scratch the surface on, because I've been helping Iraq and Afghanistan veterans that were wounded in combat for 15 years, and now I've been rushing to honor the World War II guys.
God. And talk about this. Some of the guys that you have signatures on here. I'm trying to look at the names.
Yeah, that was a legend.
Rodney
That was
Prentice.
called the legendary. That was the legend edition of my book. I had about 40 veterans signed, like maybe 30 copies of my book. So there's only
Yeah.
30 in the world that exist, with all the World War II. All I had at my book release on June 1st, 2021, I had 50 living World War II veterans at my book signing.
Oh man. That's incredible. What a feat to get those guys out there. Yeah, so I hope those
Yeah.
books went for about 1,000, 1,500. Oh, I'd pay that much.
I got rid of them for like $350,
Oh, dude, man.
Oh, don't worry, you'll see them, 4 years from now for $3,000 a piece. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Well,
especially
look,
if it
man,
goes to a mini series. If that goes to a mini series, if that book,
are they talking about that? Or you have
yeah,
some talk?
there's definitely talk, yeah.
How would they do it?
Well, you're gonna have to watch, aren't you, on HBO? Okay.
All right, put it this way. Who plays you? Because I always say if somebody tries to take over an
Jack
airplane,
Black. No,
Jack, yeah. I say Brad Pitt plays me. So lawyer up
I
and
think
then
I'm more of like, I don't know. When I look in the mirror, I see Michael Clark Duncan.
yeah, no. Maybe if you've been down in Antigua for a while. Let's see, Boston guy. The guy that played in the series, the spy series, not Jason Bourne, not the other guy that played the EOD dude in Iraq. What's his name? He's like from Boston.
Oh,
Jeremy.
yeah. He was in the town too, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was in the town.
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but yeah, he's a little
That's the
older.
dude.
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner. That's his name. You
Yeah.
need him for your series.
Right.
Well, I look forward to that. Anything else you want to pass on? Any charities you want to prop up? Let me know. We could do it now.
No, I'm just reading some of the comments here.
Let's see. We got. I can put that up. George Mason's a vet name. Yep. Weapon
I'd
7
love to meet that guy.
Marines. 17 years old on Guadalcanal. Wow.
I'd love to meet him.
And are you related to Major League Baseball player?
I am not.
How about this? Oh, yeah. First pilots to encounter a 262. Yeah, I agree. That would be pretty crazy watching those guys come screaming over your heads.
Yeah. Well, didn't Chuck Yeager shot one down, right?
Yeah, I think he shot his down when they were landing.
No.
Yeah, I think they were coming in and shooting them down because a P-51, there's no way P-50. I'd have to go back and reread his book. I believe he got those guys as they were coming into land, he would pounce on them because one-on-one speed-wise, the P-51, there's no way that
Yeah.
they could really take those guys on. But tell you what, if you guys have rifles out there, if you are able to go get some World War II signatures, highly recommend getting their stories recorded and talk to Andy. And I'm sure he could, appreciate having some of these stories commemorated down for a further edition of his book, The Rifle 3, 4, 5. Are you going to work on any of the Korean era guys?
Yeah. As soon as I'm wrapped up with World War II, we'll definitely think of the next mission. It might be Korea, it might be Vietnam. So I'm not done. Veterans are the backbone of this country, and I love writing about them.
Well, when you get older and your kids are older, they could be like Henry Sledge, E.B. Sledge's son. He's working on stuff helping bring forth his dad's memories and all the different
Oh,
things.
yeah. Well, his dad
So,
wrote a legendary book, that's for sure.
yeah, did he? As Marines? Man, I tell you what. Well, brother, I can't thank you enough for coming out here and spending the time with me. We tried to get you last week, and I'm sorry it didn't work out, but I'm so glad that I could get you this week. If I come up there, definitely going to take you out for some seafood, or you're going to take me to legal seafood, or whatever the place right down on the water. Glenn took me to, and I can't remember the name of it, but we'll get together for a couple IPAs and some seafood. How about that?
I'd love that, Mitch. Thanks.
Well, listen, brother. Hang on for 1 second, and then I'll sign off and come back to you. All right.
You got it.
All right. Hoorah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight on Tall Tales with Taco. Really do appreciate Andy's time. If you have a chance, go buy his book. I'm going to go get a copy and send it up to him because I really want to get this thing autographed. Appreciate what he's doing. And we always say, as long as you say their name and their stories, they're never gone. Unfortunately, like he brought up, these folks, they keep the stories bottled up until it's too late, and then they're gone. So if you have a chance, a vet, especially of that generation, go try to figure out a way that you can get that person to open up and see if you can't record their story, because it's going to mean a lot for the family, for the friends later on, and for you too, the betterment of yourself. So until next week, thank you guys. Adios, hasta luego, se wiedersehen, tschüss. Shesheni, au revoir, domarigato gozaimasu, tano shinde, kudasai, ciao, rivedici, and I will see you all next Tuesday. Have a great one. Hoorah.